Hey, shalom, shalom, akim wa akwa, shalom, yasha'Allah. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Waha, Rakakwadash. Double honor to my apostles, elders at Great Millstone, the men that told me this truth through the Spirit. Peace and blessings to you, brothers, teaching His word in truth and sincerity. All right. Now, this is going to be in response to the beloved brother Manat Zakba. All right. The name of his video was Mexicans are Israelites, despite your stupid arguments. His page is GMS narrated as C7, and this beloved brother Rakaya Kwum. The name of his video was Mexico is not owned and controlled by Ishikar, and his channel is GMS Fair the Mosai 7 Ba. Go like, comment, and subscribe, and get fed with the knowledge, wisdom, understanding of the scriptures. All right, go get fed that good milk, that good food, living waters. Nah, them brothers, they went in basically on a topic that these BOIs, all right, if you don't know what that means, black only Israelis, all right, because they don't believe, they're not Israelites, they believe in Israelis, man. But these black only Israelites, right? And they always bring up these ignorant, unlearned, right, questions, right? As in, well, they can't be Israelites because look, they got their own land. They can't be Israelites. Look, they got their own army. They got their own government, right? And it's such a, you know, really unlearned, foolish, novice statement or question to make, because Ghana and all the West African countries, right? Nigeria, right? Damn, the Blood Diamond country, right? All those countries that's in the land of Ham, they have their own governments, they have their own military, they have their own land. Jamaica, Haiti, Trinidad, you know, all the Central America black, so-called black people have their own country, their own land, their own government, their own military, right? But they're Israelites. They get a pass, but the indigenous people don't get a pass. So it's just foolishness. And the name of this lesson is going to be, you can go any curse, right, fits the indigenous people of North, Central, and South America, right? You could go to any curse, and these people forewent one of these to all these curses, all right? And the one I want to focus on is smallpox, okay? As you see depicted in this picture, right? Because one of the main ways Gad, Reuben, Issachar, Manasseh, Naphtali, right? Asher, the reason the indigenous peoples lost these battles is through disease warfare, right? Biological warfare, which so happily is a curse, right? It is a curse that these people went through, you know? And so-called Negroes, they went through their own diseases and sicknesses and pestilence, you know, coming over here in the slave ships and you know, just unhumane treatment in slavery. But these people was going through that before we was even put on slave ships, going to war against America and going to war against the conquistadors. All right, so let's get into it, man. Fair use. I'm gonna try to play this video, and if they take it down, I'll just redo it, man. But I want to play this video because this Edomite goes a little bit into it. He gives you some visuals, right? Fair use.
Tired of waiting in long
And this is
car
for
rental
educational
lines?
purposes
Book a car
only.
instantly with Avail.
This
Just
is
grab the
not for
keys and
monetary
hit the road.
gain.
In the 15th century, there were 25 million people living in the Aztec Empire. 100 years later, there were just 1 million left. What happened to the Aztecs? Here's the awful truth about why they disappeared. Like pretty much all Europeans of the colonial era, the conquistadors were hell-bent on ruling the world. The first Europeans arrived in Mexico in 1517. Discovering the land was already inhabited by the formidable Aztec Empire, they left and returned 2 years later with a larger force, one bent on pillage, plunder, conquer, and death. In November 1519, Hernán Cortés reached the Aztec Empire with his men. Believing the Spanish to be friendly, the Aztec leader Montezuma invited them into the Aztec capital city of Tenochtitlan, which at the time was one of the largest cities in the world, as guests. That was the beginning of the end. First, Cortés took Montezuma as a hostage. Then, in 1520, Cortés briefly left the city in order to deal with, of all things, another conquistador. While he was gone, his second-in-command, Pedro de Alvarado, took the opportunity to brutally massacre the Aztec ruling class while they were peacefully gathered for a celebratory feast. The Aztec people rose up in rebellion. During the chaos, Montezuma died under mysterious circumstances, and the Spanish were expelled from the city.
Peace and safety, then sudden destruction is going to come upon you. That's Jake's problem. They always want to party and celebrate and have fun. And you got invaders, you got the devil in the midst of you.
But in May 1521, Cortés returned to lay siege to the capital with the help of several local tribes who were enemies of the Aztecs. And just 93 days later, the Spanish had won. The Aztec Empire...
Mind you, everything that he's bringing out, right, there's a curse for what this man is speaking about. But we want to focus on one.
...was gone forever. But it wasn't guns or swords that proved the difference. It was something else altogether. When the conquistadors took over the city of Tenochtitlan, one of their keys to victory was smallpox. The Spanish brought many new diseases to Mexico, including mumps and measles, but it was smallpox that did the most damage, and an epidemic swept through the city right at the height of the siege. According to PBS, the epidemic spread from the coast of Mexico to the capital and eventually killed a whopping 40% of the city's population.
40%.
And worse, though roughly a third of all smallpox victims die, another third end up going permanently blind, meaning the city was completely devastated by illness at the worst possible time.
So not only their youth was dying, but whoever did survive went blind. Mind you, they was at war at this time. So what good are you dead? What good are you sick? And what good are you blind? So the Most High, the Most High ran through them. Through the sword, with the sword, right?
Smallpox was a bad disease among Europeans, but it was even worse for the Aztecs because no one on the continent had ever been exposed to the virus, and therefore they had no natural immunity to it, nor did they have medicine to help them combat it. As one Franciscan monk who was with Cortés during the whole ugly affair wrote, as the Indians did not know the remedy of the disease, they died in heaps, like bed bugs. Nice analogy, Father, very empathetic. The smallpox epidemic of 1521 ended the Aztec Empire and led to Spanish rule over Mexico. But it wasn't smallpox that ended the Aztecs as a people. That came courtesy of another, far more mysterious plague known as a Cocolitzli. Cocolitzli is actually the Aztec word for pestilence, so figuring out exactly what the disease was had proved to be a major challenge for modern historians and scientists. But what we do know is the terrible human toll it took on the population of Mexico. The first Cocolitzli epidemic happened in 1545, and it was so devastating that it forced the abandonment of entire villages, including a Mixtec village in Oaxaca, where modern researchers recently uncovered
1545. That's way before the transatlantic slave trade. So these people was getting jacked up way before Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Way before so-called Negroes.
Skeletons believed to have been the victims of the first occurrence of the disease. A second outbreak hit in 1576, right around the time survivors were probably starting to relax and think the pestilence was a thing of the past. According to The Guardian, the second epidemic killed over half the region's population in a period of less than 5 years. A historian from the period described the extent of the devastation, writing, "In cities and large towns, big ditches were dug, and from morning to sunset, the priests did nothing else but carry the dead bodies and throw them into the ditches." All told, the Cocolitzli epidemic is believed to have caused the deaths of up to 17 million million people in South and Central America. According to The Guardian, it killed 80% of the population of Mexico and Guatemala,
80%.
similar in scale to the bubonic plague epidemic that killed 25 million people in Europe during the 14th century. For people who were already devastated by smallpox and conquistadors, Cocolizli must have been both terrifying and demoralizing. Only a real optimist could witness such a thing and not see it as the beginning of the end. And it's probably safe to say there weren't a lot of Aztec optimists left in the world at the time, especially since the disease strangely left the Spanish population of Mexico almost completely untouched.
The devils was untouched, right? Because this was manifest destiny. This was destined for these tribes to get the judgment of the Lord. This was destiny for Esau to take down, right, the northern kingdom so they could conquer this land, right? So at the end, when the tribes finally wake back up, right? I mean, even before that, so they can build up America, they can build up these lands for the Lord to ultimately destroy them.
Giving yourself a tattoo?
Strangely left the Spanish population of Mexico almost completely untouched.
Because the Lord blessed them, he blessed them to do this, right?
Exactly what Cocolizli was baffled scientists for a long time, largely because its symptoms didn't seem to directly correspond with any known disease. Franciscan friar Juan de Torquemada, who witnessed the epidemic firsthand, describes the fevers as, quote, contagious, burning, and continuous, all of them pestilential and most part lethal. He then went on to describe specific symptoms, saying the tongue was dry and black, enormous thirst, urine of the colors sea green, vegetal green, and black, sometimes passing from greenish color to the pale. Pulse was frequent, fast, small, and weak, sometimes even null. The eyes and the whole body were yellow. This stage was followed by delirium and seizures. Then, hard and painful nodules appeared behind one or both ears, along with heartache, chest pain, abdominal pain, tremor, great anxiety, and dysentery. According to The Atlantic, some scientists suggested it was hemorrhagic fever, similar to Ebola or yellow fever. Others thought it might have been spread by rodents like bubonic plague. But the prevailing theory is actually something much stranger.
That's it on that. You know, y'all could watch the rest. Let's get the scriptures. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 21. It reads, Yahweh shall make thy pestilence cleave unto thee until he have consumed thee off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. Right? Read it in the NLT. Yahweh will afflict you with diseases until none of you are left in the land, and you are left in the land you are about to enter and occupy. Did not the Aztecs occupy Central and South America, or Mexico as we know it, right? And what happened to them? This is Deuteronomy 28 verse 27. The Lord will afflict you with the boils of Egypt, and with tumors, scurvy, and the itch, from which you cannot be cured. Was they able to cure the disease of smallpox? No, they wasn't, right? The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. The Lord shall strike you with madness. Wasn't blindness. Now this is physical and spiritual, right? Figurative and literal, right? The Lord shall strike you with madness and blindness. Wasn't one of the symptoms for the people that didn't die of smallpox to go blind? Did not they receive boils on their skin? I could literally go to any curse, and it fit anything that man was saying in that video. Forgive me, I'm looking for something. Brother, I brought that out. Verse 49, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. Right? A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show a favor to the young. I can go to any curse, and it will fit the indigenous people of North, Central, and South America. Just look up the Aztec and Spanish War. Look up the America and Mexico War, right? You can look up any war in regards to the indigenous people versus American conquistadors, and you'll see how majority of the battles they lost or got slaughtered. Why? Because the Lord cursed them. Back to verse 22. The Lord will strike you with wasting disease, fever, inflammation, with scorching heat and drought, and with blight and mildew. These disasters will pursue you until you die. Did not that happen to the indigenous Indians from North, Central, and South America? Come on now. Everything that man described in that video, it seemed like he was reading straight from the book. You know? Let's get I want to read a little bit from the article. Basically, it restates everything that man just said. That's why I wanted to play the video. How smallpox devastated the Aztecs and helped Spain conquer American civilization over 500 years ago. Cortez' microscopic secret weapon. Although Cortez was a skilled leader, Cortez was one of the Spanish leaders, he and his fierce force of perhaps 1,000 Spaniards and indigenous allies, so they got other Jake to help take down, just like they normally do, right? Sell out Jakes, right? To help take down their fellow brothers. So it says allies would not have been able to overcome a city of 200,000 without help. He got it in a form of smallpox epidemic that gradually spread inward from the coast of Mexico and decimated the densely populated city of Tenochtitlan in 1520, reducing its population by 40% in a single year. Smallpox is caused by an inhaled virus, which causes fever, vomiting, and rash, soon covering the body with fluid-filled blisters. These turn into scabs when leave scars. Fatal in approximately one-third cause another. It says, fatal in approximately one-third of the cases. Another third of those afflicted with the disease was typically develop blindness, which is stated in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. That shit looks disgusting. I don't want to be nowhere near this. The picture itself makes me want to vomit. Imagine experiencing this. Imagine seeing your loved ones go through this, right? Imagine you having to take care of your son or daughter that develops smallpox. Your brother or sister, right? Your father that just came back from a battle. Imagine that. Smallpox existed, here we go. It says the native people of Americas, including Aztecs, were especially vulnerable to smallpox because they never been exposed to the virus and thus possessed no natural immunity. No effective antiviral therapies were available. Recalling the epidemic one victim report, the plague lasted for 70 days, striking everywhere in the city and killing a vast number of our people. Sores erupted on our faces, our breasts, our bellies. We were covered with agonizing sores from head to foot, just like it stated in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. A Franciscan monk who accompanied Cortez provided the description as the Indians, which is a byword because they're not Indians, right? Indian means savage, did not know the remedy of the disease. They died in heaps like bed bugs. In many places, it happened that everyone in the house died, as it was impossible to bury the great number of dead. They pulled down the houses over them so that their homes became their tombs. Then the scripture say you wouldn't have nobody to bury you, so they just fucking broke the house down, and that would be your grave, and your body will be left to wildlife. It says smallpox took its toll on the Aztecs in several ways. First, it killed many of the victims outright, particularly infants and young children. Many other adults were incapacitated by the disease because they were either sick themselves, cared for sick relatives and neighbors, or simply lost the will to resist the Spaniards as they saw the disease ravage those around them. Finally, people could no longer tend to their crops, leading to widespread famine, further weakening the immune system of survivors of the epidemic. So, man, I'm gonna give one more scripture. Leave your comments and scriptures below. This is Leviticus chapter 26, verse 25. And I will bring a sword upon you that shall avenge the quarrel of my covenant, because we transgressed the laws of the Most High. This great sword, or this wrath and destruction, came upon us by the sword of the Lord, which is Esau and Edom. It says, when ye are gathered together within your cities, I will send the pestilence among you, and ye shall be delivered into the hand of the enemy. Right? Was we not delivered into the hands of our enemy, the conquistadors, right? The settlers, the colonizers. I'm going to read it in the NLT. I will send armies against you to carry out the curse of the covenant you have broken. When you run to your towns for safety, I will send a plague to destroy you there, and you will be handed over to your enemies. I'm going to read it in NLT. I will destroy your food supply. Did it not just say they was unable to farm because they had to tend to the people that had smallpox? Did not the conquistadors besiege the Aztec Empire that no supplies went out, no supplies went in? They couldn't even get on the boats because they would destroy the boats. They would kill the people that was trying to travel by boat. I will destroy your food supply so that 10 women will need only one to bake bread for their families. They will ration your food by weight, and though you have food to eat, you will not be satisfied. Right? Our people still going through that to this day. We about to come back to this. Right? We about to come back to this in a heavy way. They're burning down crops, farmlands, right? They're causing food shortages. So we're about to live this again. It says, and if ye will not for all this hearken unto me, but walk contrary unto me, then will I walk contrary unto you also in fury, and even I will chastise you 7 times for your sins. And this is exactly why the so-called North American Indians and the indigenous Indians from Central and South America went through the great destruction that they went through. I was just sitting here thinking about it. Like, Native Americans ain't got their own month. How the hell does sodomy get their own month, but the indigenous people don't even get their own month? How the hell did that happen? What is this? This is the book of Songs, chapter 17, verse 13. Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. That was the sword of the Lord that ran through the North American Indians and the Aztecs and the Incas and the Mayans, right? The Taino Indians. That was the sword of the Lord. That's why it happened the way it happened. Because we transgressed the laws of the Most High. We didn't turn back onto the Lord. So guess what? A great destruction came upon us. Disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked. Showing you that this is talking about a people. This is talking about a man, right? Who was the wicked according to the Bible? Esau, Edom, the so-called Caucasian race. Deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. It says, rescue me from the wicked, which is thy sword. But pretty much that's it, man. Any curse you read will fit the indigenous people from North, Central, and South America. I pray and hope that you was edified. I'm going to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Waharakak Wadash. Till next time I say Shalom.